The Hobbit 3, Dippin' Dots, meeting my real dad for the first time, the SIG P365 SAS. All things I was really excited about, but kind of let down by. I guess the good news is that your P365 SAS isn't going to go to the corner store for cigarettes and never come back. However, this isn't my favorite SIG handgun. Hey everybody, it's James Reeves with TFBTV. Today on TFBTV, I've got a full review of the SIG P365 SAS. And like I said, not one of my favorite SIG handguns. Now, if we talk about the SIG P365 generally, it's definitely in my top 5 handguns, possibly in my top 5 most favorite guns of all time. If you guys don't know what the P365 is, I guess come out from the rock that you've been living under, because this thing really set the concealed carry world ablaze whenever it came out. That's because you get 10 rounds of capacity in a pistol that's virtually pocketable. So you get 10 plus 1, that's 11 total rounds. And this thing is about the size of most single stack 9mm handguns. So it was revolutionary whenever it was introduced at SHOT Show 2018, I want to say. In fact, I've got one of the first SIG P365s that rolled off the line, and I absolutely adore it. I've beat the crap out of it over the almost 2 years that I've had it. In fact, I just recently did a video that was like my 2,000 round, I wouldn't really call it a torture test, because like 2,050 rounds isn't really like a torture test, but I shot a little over 2,000 rounds over the course of 18 months without cleaning it, and it held up pretty well. I only had one failure that entire time, and I'm basically shooting hollow points out of it the whole time, so it's impressed me. The standard P365 comes with night sights. Again, it's incredibly small. The ergonomics are great, the grip texture is great, the trigger is phenomenal, and that's one of the main edges that I think that you have with the SIG P365. More recently, SIG introduced the SIG P365 XL, which was a slightly bigger version, had a little bit longer barrel, a little bit bigger butt. I did a full review of it on TFBTV, and I think I even liked it more than the standard SIG P365. It's hard to tell which one my favorite is. So, SIG P365, the first one to come out, awesome. The XL, possibly better. Now the SIG P365 SAS, SIG told me about maybe 6 months ago. Again, huge concealed carry guy, so of course I was stoked because it was getting the SAS treatment. That's the SIG Anti Snag treatment. They remove anything that you could possibly snag on a pocket, on clothes, basically making the gun the ultimate concealed carry pistol. That's what SIG has done for years now. I think probably since the early 2000s. That's when I remember the first introduction of the SAS designation. So I was absolutely stoked. When I heard my review copy got to my FFL, I went there the same day, picked it up because I was so excited. I got back and I messed with it a little bit, and I was checking out these Meprolite Bullseye sights, and I was like, wow. This is really neat. This is like some Star Trek shit. So let's go into some detail real quick on the SIG P365 SAS and how it's different from the standard P365 before we continue with the review. The SIG P365 SAS is a 9mm ultra-compact semi-auto striker-fired pistol that features a 1.5 stack type magazine. It's a magazine that's slightly staggered so as to accommodate 10 rounds of 9mm into a 1-inch wide slim frame with virtually a flush fit magazine. It has a lightweight polymer frame and a nearly rust-proof stainless steel slide with forward slide serrations. The slide features SIG's tough as nails nitron finish. It has a 3.1-inch barrel and a 5.8-inch overall length, a height of just 4.1 inches, and it weighs only 17.8 ounces. By the numbers, this is one of the most efficient pistols ever made, packing 11 rounds of 9mm into a pocket gun. SIG describes the P365 SAS as designed for the serious CCW user who truly understands the value of smoother draws, faster sight acquisition, and more effective engagements at realistic distances. End quote. To achieve this, it has a flush-mounted FT Bullseye fiber tritium night sight that features a dot inside the circled design. The sight gathers ambient light so to intensify the brightness of the fiber optics, but it also has a tritium component so the sight will still work in low light conditions. The gun has a ported slide and barrel to reduce muzzle flip, and flat controls all around for a completely slick-sided frame that won't snag on clothing when drawn. It comes with one 10-round flush fit and one 10-round slightly extended magazine included. Street price is around $579, which is roughly $80 more than the standard P365. So that all sounds great, right? What's even cooler than the specs is the fact that SIG is so dedicated to the concealed carry market that they would introduce not only one revolutionary design, but two iterations of that design geared towards people with different needs. I tend to favor the smaller guns over the larger guns, accepting the repercussions of increased recoil, shorter sight radius, and so on. So again, the SIG P365 SAS was gonna be my jam. But once I got out to the range, I was initially let down whenever I opened the box. One of the first things that I noticed is that the slide stop is virtually useless. It is so far recessed into the frame of the gun that it's really hard to actually use it, if not impossible. So I wasn't a fan. And for that matter, while I appreciate SIG's commitment to this SIG Anti Snag principle, the fact remains that I'm not sure that anybody has ever snagged their clothes on a slide stop. Same thing with the takedown lever. They removed the takedown lever and now it's kind of like a takedown screw. And I think that maybe that was a little bit over the top. Again, I appreciate the commitment, execution, not as much. Then I noticed the gun was compensated. It's got, as you can see here, two little holes and you've got some ports on the top of the slide. I don't like compensated concealed carry guns, and I went on a little field trip to show you why. I don't really like ported or compensated pistols for concealed carry. And there are a few reasons for that, but I think one of the best ways for you to visualize it, for you to see what I'm talking about, is let's say you're in your car at an abandoned gas station. These things happen. Some crackhead butthole comes up to your window, like right here. I mean, I don't know. I don't hang out at abandoned gas stations unless I'm doing TFBTV videos. I've never had to shoot a carjacker or a crackhead, but I would guess, especially if you have your window up, you're probably gonna put your gun like right here-ish, and shoot a couple rounds, I guess. We're just LARPing here, guys. All of that hot gas and probably metal shards are going to blast you in your face. Not to mention, a compensated handgun is mother-in-law loud, even when you're outside or at the range. So if you're in your car, it's going to be even worse. So for that reason, I don't like compensated handguns. And it isn't just like this carjacking type scenario. I guess if you're struggling around on the ground, you're fighting with somebody, not only do you have to worry about where that bullet's going, but now you've got to worry about like 90 degrees where all that hot debris and gas is going to go whenever you pull the trigger because of your compensator. So I think that making this a compensated or ported barrel model is not really that great of an idea, considering what the gun is designed for, and that is to be specifically a super low profile concealed carry gun. So notwithstanding those somewhat negative first impressions, I was still optimistic about the gun. In fact, these Bullseye sights were so attention getting, and the fact that you could literally stuff this gun into your pocket and you don't have to worry about it snagging on anything. I'm not even sure you could do that with a standard P365, at least if you're wearing, like me, slim fit denim. I know a lot of you don't wear that, but if you're a man of distinction and culture like me, then you might gravitate towards something like the SIG P365 if you're a pocket carrier, which I'm not. But then that optimism sort of came apart whenever I went to the range with the gun. I consider myself to be a pretty good pistol shot, but I know that Brandon LaBeouf of TFBTV and Knoll Attack, you know, guy's got his own range. He was on the Marine shooting team. I know that this guy is one of the best pistol shots out there. Well, as you can see in this video, Brandon and I were struggling to make a 6-inch group with the SAS at like 10 yards. This is the first group that came out of it, like a f***ing massive group at 10 yards. But once you kind of realize what's going on, I mean,
maybe it's going to 6-inch low shot.
That's still, so yeah, it's true. I was shooting here.
That tells me you're being consistent. Your fundamentals are right. So when you were pulling the trigger, you were doing everything pulling the trigger correctly. But what you thought was center was not center. Because I know the bullets at this distance are going in a straight line.
That's true.
So there's something in the computation that's off.
But then, the funny thing, we go get a rental, like a beater, SIG P365, just the standard model. We bring that out to the 10-yard line, and we're all dropping it in like 2-3-inch holes.
So the blue shots are me, the red shots are James. This was the first group that I shot 1 magazine. I was aiming here. Then when I jumped over to this target, this target, for some reason, everything shifted here. And then we shot 2 mags on top, so this is 20 rounds. Some of it is obviously my brain getting used to that different sight, but that is nowhere near my skill level. This was shot 2 magazines with a normal 365. Then same thing with James. This is 1 magazine. This is his second set of 2. So he was aiming here. The majority of his shots are low. Got better on his third one, started kind of trying to figure it out. We're at 10 yards, which is the outside limits of probably what that gun is set for. And then this is James's group with the regular 365. On his first mag, he started going a little fast. These were some flyers on the first one. But once I had him slow down, everything is still, pretty much like my group. I don't think it has anything to do with the gun. I think it's the sight is just such, it's very, very difficult to get a true center, to get a good sight alignment in order to get a good sight placement. So the SAS is probably great for carrying. The normal 365 is actually going to probably be better for shooting if you're using proper fundamentals. Of
course, the blame falls to the Bullseye sights. What I thought was a really cool novelty and very attention grabbing whenever I got home and whenever I inspected this gun out of the box, ended up kind of being a bust on the range. You have to kind of cover what you're shooting at, and for that matter, the sights aren't very precise, although they are attention getting. So we had a very difficult time trying our damnedest to make tight groups with this gun. Now, to be fair to SIG, I approached them for comment about it. I said, hey guys, I really don't like the sights. SIG essentially said that the entire point of these sights is to grab your attention, which they do, and to get you on target as quickly as possible, which they do. They say these aren't, even though they're called Bullseye sights, these are not made for bullseye shooting. These are made for quick reflex shooting. And I guess I would have to agree because they do grab your attention and they're even pretty easy to use. If you're like me, I've got astigmatism, so it's difficult for me to use like my effed up eye. So I usually have to squint and use just my right eye whenever I shoot. However, it's very easy for me to use these both eyes open. You're just not going to get very precise shots. So it's a priority thing. What's more important to you? As you guys know, Federal is a big sponsor of the program, so we used Federal Syntech ammo for this video and the Federal, I think it's called Train and Protect. So Syntech I like because it's a synthetic jacket bullet, reduces heat transfer, and most importantly, reduces lead output whenever you're shooting, because that can be nasty stuff, especially if you're shooting high round counts. And that Train and Protect is hollow point ammo that's intended to be inexpensive enough to use at the range, but effective enough that you could use for personal defense. So we shot a good range of flat nose, like 150 grain, 9mm, 115 grain Syntech with a synthetic jacket, to Federal hollow point through the SAS, and it ran flawlessly with everything. I guess to wrap up my thoughts about the SIG P365 SAS, would I recommend this over the standard SIG P365? I don't think so. However, if you listen to this video, if you listen to the features of the SIG P365 SAS, remember that at the end of the day, you're getting one of the most revolutionary firearms that's been introduced probably in the past 30 or 40 years. You're getting a very compact but reliable and shootable handgun. The difference between the 365 SAS and the standard P365, again, is this is a completely melted down gun. I wasn't a fan of the sights. While they do grab your attention and could arguably lead to your faster initial shot on target, I didn't really like the lack of precision, and I didn't really like the ported barrel, because I don't want to worry about not only what's coming out of this end of the gun, but what's coming out of the top of the gun as well whenever I'm shooting it. Finally, the slide lock. I mean, if you go over the top to charge your gun, I guess that's not a problem, but the slide lock I thought was virtually unusable. So I was lukewarm on it, but I'm not recommending that anybody not purchase it if you like what you heard today about it. As usual, thanks a ton for watching, guys. Thank you to our sponsor, Ventura Munitions. Thank you to 511 for sponsoring the program this fall. And thank you, as usual, to Blue Alpha Gear. They make the best belts on planet Earth. But most of all, thanks to you guys. I really can't emphasize that enough. We couldn't do it without you guys, and we really need your support. Go to patreon.com/TFBTV or subscribestar.com/TFBTV and support us there if you can. We do a free gun giveaway every single month. We're giving away 2 guns a month. We're going to give away 3 guns a month once we hit 1,500 supporters, and we are almost there. So do us a favor and support us. But we just appreciate you guys watching the program. We wouldn't be here without you. Thanks a ton. See you next week.